the market has risk, okay? Somehow they're making it out in these articles to seem that the stock market is snugly safe and that you, the investor, are just too basic of a person to understand anything else. It's actually very insulting when I read some of these articles that what they're saying is, we shouldn't do this, give people more choices, because we think that the average investor out there just doesn't know what they're doing. You should only be mega rich to be able to have this access to this VIP club. And the way I read these articles, it looks like the information has been completely given to the media on these issues through Wall Street. Major news coming from Capitol Hill. It concerns 401ks, trillions of dollars up for grabs. If you have a 401k, this is very important information, and we'll break it down for you next. Hello, everybody. I'm Ben Mohr, your host of Truly Diversified, and today we're going to focus on major news coming from Capitol Hill concerning 401ks. You may have heard that President Trump is now signing into law that allows 401ks to now invest in private equity. That's right. That means now no more cookie cutter situations like with Fidelity and Schwab. You will be able to use your 401k to actually invest outside the market. It's huge news. The 401k market is a multi-trillion-dollar market. Millions and millions of people in this country have 401ks. And up till today, the only way that they could truly invest was really in the market. Now, let's break this down for you. If you have a 401k, or if you're not familiar, I'm just going to briefly go through how a 401k works. 401ks are usually company-sponsored retirement plans. What that means is, let's say you work for ABC Corporation and you go work there, they will have a 401k plan that you can join, okay? When you then take a portion of your money out of your paycheck every single month, it's applied to the 401k. The advantage there, of course, is that that money is tax deferred, and so that your actual income per year goes down as far as taxable income, because that money, let's say it's $10,000 a year, comes off the top of what you make as an income. So if you made $100,000, it now looks like to the IRS you made $90,000. So obviously there's a tax savings. Now that money is put in the 401k, and over the years as you work, it grows, right? Tax deferred, depending on what you invest in. Sounds great, right? And yes, there's also matching. A lot of companies then also match a certain portion that you invest. So you're getting free money in this plan as well. So looks fabulous. It really is a great plan. The only problem that has existed for decades and decades is how you are able to invest. Well, when there's a 401k plan, the person who owns your business or corporation that owns the business that you work for has to go get essentially what's known as a 401k custodian. And typically and almost universally, those companies are the big names that you've heard of. It might be Schwab or Fidelity. In fact, I believe Fidelity is the number one 401k provider in the country. So, obviously millions and millions, maybe even over $1 trillion put into that plan. Now, here's how it works. When Fidelity or Schwab comes in and they come to the company you work for, they kind of put together a menu. And it's pretty basic normally, meaning that the stuff you can select there is many things that you can get in the stock market, but they aren't too diverse. They just kind of stick to a simple plan. And that's what you get. So you're kind of handed this menu and saying, hey, this is what we have to offer. And if you don't like it, guess what? You really don't have anything else to invest in with your 401k. So you're kind of handcuffed into what you can invest there. And of course, if Fidelity, Schwab, and all these big names are the custodian, guess what you have to invest in? That's right. You have to invest somehow, some way in the stock market. So when somebody has a 401k, most likely, almost 100% of the time, the options that they have are portions of the market. Might be some kind of mutual fund, which is what most of these plans have. You might be able to buy some stock or some ETFs or maybe some bonds. But again, all of it is going to be directly put into the market. And that's how things were for decades and decades. Now remember, this show is called Truly Diversified. That plan alone with your 401k up until today is not truly diversified. Sure, you can get some diversification within the market with these 401k plans, but you're still going to be in the market. That has all now changed. The Trump administration announced a few weeks back, and now they are signing it into law, that if you have a 401k, you now should have options available outside of the market in what we call the alternative space, which is where I work. A lot of it is known as private equity, and some people may not understand all these different terms. Private equity usually are hedge funds, but also alternative investments as well, such as you should be able to now, depending on the program, maybe even invest in some kind of fund that is involved in real estate, or where we work, which is life settlements. Now, again, with our company, to learn more about life settlements, you can go to lifeassetllc.com. Again, lifeassetllc.com. There's plenty of information on there on how life settlements work, especially for retirement plans. Most people that we work with have been using their IRAs, which are individual retirement accounts. They work much like a 401k, but they're set up by the actual investor themselves. They aren't company sponsored. That's the difference between IRA and 401k. With the 401k, again, you're at the mercy of what your company has as an offer. And again, it's usually Fidelity, Schwab, and all the big names. When you have an IRA, and you can go back to previous episodes that we've had on here where we've talked to a self-directed IRA company known as IRA Club, they help people invest with their IRAs outside the market, whether it's life settlements, it can be precious metals, it could be notes, it could be real estate. Okay. Now what's happening is, think about this. What was available in self-directed IRAs is now looks like going to be available to everybody in the 401k market. Now that's huge. The 401k market is trillions and trillions of dollars. Okay. Huge amounts of retirement plans where now the Trump administration is saying that people should be able to have the diversity and choice to not just get stuck with the market and the big names with these cookie cutter plans, but actually you should be able to go outside and get into things such as private equity, where the mega rich have been making tons of money over decades. They're now saying it should be available to the average investor that is out there. Now, of course, there's going to be qualifications, such as you'll have to be probably accredited. If you're not familiar with the term being an accredited investor, you'll probably have to have a net worth of at least $1 million to, not $1 million to put in the plan, but just show that you're worth at least $1 million and that you're an experienced investor, which is pretty basic. As long as you've ever had a 401k, you technically are an experienced investor, whether you're hands-on with it or not. You will able to now go out there and dip into these other areas. Now, critics of this, if you look this online and Google, you'll see there's a lot of criticism about this idea. Now, I'm not political at all. Not a Trump hater, not a Trump supporter. We are on here talking about how to make money. So there is no political aspect to it at all here, okay? But what I've noticed in all of these articles that have been written, they seem to be very pro-Wall Street, pro-stock market, saying, oh, if you give the average investor these options, these are sophisticated things that have possible risk, okay? Which is funny because the market has risk, okay? Somehow they're making it out in these articles to seem that the stock market is snugly safe and that you, the investor, are just too basic of a person to understand anything else. It's actually very insulting when I read some of these articles that what they're saying is, we shouldn't do this, give people more choices, because we think that the average investor out there just doesn't know what they're doing. You should only be mega rich to be able to have this access to this VIP club. And the way I read these articles, it looks like the information has been completely given to the media on these issues through Wall Street. I'm not saying they got it from the big names out there, but it definitely looks like the propaganda in some of this that the journalists probably haven't done a lot of their research on turns out to just be total pro Wall Street 401k. Like, hey, your 401k should only be with these big names because they've been out there so long. But what they forget is a lot of people, when the market drops, have lost millions of dollars, billions of dollars in the market in their 401ks, like in the drop of 2008, right? In this area, which they just put their money in a 401k with the big names and didn't ask questions and lost money in a very, very rigid, cookie cutter plan where you couldn't make a lot of moves. I disagree. I say, look, when you give people more options and more choices, of course, they should educate themselves. But why not give them the choices that all these other rich people have? They should be given those choices and a chance to educate themselves and have more control over their money. Okay, we cover a lot of content on here, and I'm always asked this important question: where do I start? What is a good first step? Well, if you're looking for a way to diversify your retirement away from market volatility and still get competitive returns, I want you to watch this free on-demand training. In under 30 minutes, I will walk you through the exact strategy that smart and wealthy investors like Warren Buffett have used for decades, and they do it by investing in what's called life settlements. We'll break down how this works, real case studies, and how you can add this market-independent asset class to your portfolio without having to lock it up for 10 to 15 years in some low-performing annuity. You will learn how to build stable, predictable growth and, yes, get true diversification, especially in today's uncertain environment. All you have to do is go to lifeassetllc.com/webinar. Again, that is lifeassetllc.com/webinar, or you can click on the link below here and watch it now. It is completely free, and I think you'll find it will be a game changer on how you think about investing for your retirement. Okay, now let's get back to the show. So, when you go online and you Google, you're going to find a lot of hating on this. And personally, I think the hating comes from the fact that the Trump administration signed into law this plan. And I think a lot of it is Trump hating. And again, I'm not political. I'm not saying I like this guy or that I hate this guy. The bottom line is the facts are the facts on this. Maybe he has some kind of means behind this because he's got cronies and friends that are in private equity. Sure. Okay. Maybe he's doing that. So maybe Donald Trump's not doing this out of the kindness of his heart because he cares about you, the investor, but who cares? His reasoning is his reasoning, but the end effect here, the end results, allows you now as an investor to have more choices. Exactly what this show is about, truly diversified. And what's great for you here now is because you have a 401k, you're now able to have selections and actually talk to people like myself. Because if I met somebody, let's say, who's in their mid-50s and they've worked at a corporation for decades, almost all of their retirement plan is in their 401k. And guess what? I can't do anything for them. There's a reason for that. As long as you are working at a current place for a long time, that money is beholden to the market, to wherever your custodian is. You can't move it. You can't in midstream work for a corporation and say, hey, I've got $500,000 in my 401k. I want to move this $50,000 and invest in life settlements with Ben. You can't do that because they don't allow you to do that. Okay. Well, that's all going to change now because they need to give you options, and they've signed into law to where now you should be able to, on your platform with your 401k, be able to just select things outside the market. And I think that's great news for you and everyone who has a 401k. So that is the breaking news right now. We will update you as things come along on this. But, because obviously they signed into law, it's going to take some time for us to work out how this is. We're very busy on our side trying to figure out how we plug in the 401k market because we never thought this was going to happen. So this is really exciting news for you, the investor, and for us, because up until this point, the only way somebody could invest in a life settlement was either with cash or they could use their IRA, either by contributing to an IRA or they left a job and then rolled over. You've heard the term IRA rollover. They've rolled over the money from their old 401k into an IRA and invested with us. And by the way, 70% of people who invest with me usually use their IRAs. They're using retirement funds because it fits. This product, as you understand with life settlements, is you're buying out portions of people's life insurance policies, and when they pass away, you get paid part of their death benefit. Currently, the offer right now that we have is about 75% estimated return. So if somebody gives us $100,000, what they're doing is owning portions of about 5 or 6 insurance policies, and every single time those policies get paid out, you get a portion of the death benefit, and all of that money totaling is about a 75% estimated return. So what I can tell somebody is, you give us $100,000, you're going to get paid out 5 or 6 times over about a 4 to 8 year period. And when that's all done, you will have gotten about $175,000 back. No stock market risk, right? Not any kind of correlation to the economy or to foreign wars or anything that's going on with world events, Gaza, Ukraine, the recent issues with Iran. Those things all affect the market. Those all affect the economy. This doesn't, because you're just owning portions of people's life insurance. And we know that essentially those people will pass away. And this year alone, we've seen 3 maturities where our clients have been paid out as an APR at 10, 12, 15%. So we're tracking it and doing very, very well right now. We see decent returns, competitive returns. And that's what Truly Diversified is about, is you want to take a portion of your money away from the market and be able to invest it somewhere where you can see decent returns and where it has no correlation to the economy or anything like that. That's why we offer life settlements, because it's the perfect blend. It usually offers a decent return while at the same time making sure it's not affected by the economy or the stock market. Up until today with 401ks, you had to be in the market almost all of the time, and your selection was very, very limited, and you couldn't do anything about it while you had the 401k. So the breaking news today is, it looks like in the next week or months, we will see a huge transition for this trillion dollar market, where you now and everybody else who has 401ks will now have options to invest outside of that cookie cutter stock market situation with a portion of your 401k. And we will be getting updates and letting you know how this is going to happen, because we'll have to implement ourselves with some 401k custodians and figure out how this is going to work. So it's not going to be overnight that you'll be able to invest. But I believe in the next couple months, there will be platforms that will allow you with your 401k to finally become truly diversified within that 401k. And that's huge news. So of course, we will keep you updated on that. And if you want to learn more about self-directed IRAs, you can go back to some of our previous episodes and learn about that. And of course, if you want to learn more about life settlements as an investment, either with your retirement plan or with just regular money, if you have money sitting around that's not doing much, this is a great place to put it. And you can get that information at lifeassetllc.com. Of course, it'll be in the show notes as well, but that's Life Asset LLC. We have ebooks, we have the brochure, we have the current offering, and we have a free webinar on there that you can take a look at. So I really advise you to go on there, get yourself educated, and if you're interested, you can always book an appointment directly with me. Yes, you will talk to me, and I don't put you off to somebody in some call center. You will talk directly to me, where I can answer all your questions. So again, big news today. Looks like 401ks are going to really become truly diversified. I want to thank you so much for joining us today on Truly Diversified. I'm your host, Ben Mohr, and we'll see you very soon.